Network. And today's topic is stuff. Uh, I don't know about you, but I have lots of stuff. And I have been wrestling with decluttering and just have been engaging in this whole question of stuff. And I thought it would be an awesome thing for us all to engage in together and look at whether, we own our stuff or our stuff owns us. And we can look at this metaphorically too. So should be an interesting conversation. But before we get started, let's take a minute to get present. So let's take a deep breath in through your nose, hold it, and imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells and your organs, and bringing vitality and health and wellness into your whole body and being. As you exhale any tension, any stress. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose. Hold it, and this time imagine sparkling white light lighting you up, electrifying every molecule, every electron, and flowing in and out of your body and connecting you with the universe beyond. And as you exhale any stress, any tension, roll your shoulders, take a deep breath and just exhale it naturally. And now let's just gently press our palms together and allow yourselves to feel the sensation of softly rubbing your fingers against your palms and the tickling and the tingling of that and how delicious it is. And bring yourselves present right here, right now. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome. So today we're talking about stuff. And I don't know about you, but I'm something of a collector. I love beautiful things, and I surround myself with beauty. And I have been really wrestling with the idea of clearing things out and decluttering. And there's a book called The Fine Art of Decluttering, which you may be aware of. And that, hello, welcome, good afternoon, Hope. It's great to have you here. We're talking about stuff and whether our stuff owns us or we own our stuff. And the fine art of decluttering. And in this book, I forget the author's name, but what she talks about is touching each thing you have, and if it brings you joy, keep it. And if it doesn't bring you joy, that's the criteria to let go of it. Now, I have, as I said, I am a collector, and years and years ago, I went to art school and I saved a bunch of my art supplies. So this is my case for not getting rid of stuff. So I had a whole bunch of art supplies, and just recently I have actually pulled out those art supplies and have been using them, not all of them, but some of them. And so the case that I'm challenged by is that, I've kept stuff in case I would use it someday, or because I treasure it sometimes, but a lot of times because I might use it, because I don't want to be wasting things. I don't want to be throwing things away because there is no way to throw them to. So I actually recently heard about a book for decluttering and clearing things out, but with an eye to sustainability. And it requires a lot more effort and consciousness, because it means finding people who would like to become the new owners of the things that you're wanting uh, to let go of. And I guess part of it is I see where our stuff is often tied to our identity, where certain things, like I have letters from when my dad was in the war that he wrote to my grandmother. And I haven't ever read all these letters. And I also have journals from a cousin of mine who had kept these journals all her life and then committed suicide at 40 years old. And I have all her journals, and I haven't read her journals either. And yet these mementos are really important to me, um, as a testament to the memory of these people. Like, it's keeping their writing, their communications, the things that they took time to write in their hand. Uh, Good morning, Dido. Welcome, welcome. Dido, you must have an appreciation for these kinds of things, like the letters that have become historic. You know, like these letters from my dad to my grandmother when he was in the war. He was in the Korean War. I don't know that I will ever want to get rid of those things. And yet, over time, there are more and more of these kinds of things that have a really deep sentimental value. And I wonder, going through my where I live, I've been looking at the things that I have and that I've surrounded myself with. And there are so many things that give me delight. And then there are other things that are utilitarian, like when I get packages, I tend to save some of the packaging for future mailing needs, or sometimes I save things that I think might be great to put into an artistic endeavor of some sort. In fact, I've taken up encaustic painting, and one of the things that I've seen done with these with encaustic works is taking old pages from old books and incorporating them into the artwork. And I could see doing that with some of my father's letters, but then there's a bigger thing to be carrying forward rather than these compact letters. So I'm kind of betwixt and between with this whole idea. Robin, welcome, Robin. Great to have you here. Robin says, I can relate. So part of it is that while I'm living where I'm living, all these things have a place, and it's like the displays of things. If I got rid of that, then there'd be an empty place on the shelf that this thing is providing decoration to. And so I'm like I said, betwixt and between, because my space feels it's on the borderline, which is why I've been wrestling with this for a while. Plus, I have imaginings of moving, and there's so much stuff here that it would be really difficult to move. So um, I it's a transition, like I'm not really ready to go to a new place. If I were to go to a new place, then I would be able to more easily divest myself of a whole bunch of these things. But I'm wondering if you guys have any tips, if you've had any success. I mean, I've actually done session work for myself around this, to look at what to get rid of, and to dig in more deeply to whatever is keeping me connected to this stuff. So Dido says, I preserve all the family history. We have letters from my great-great-grandfather describing working in the mills as child laborer in Victorian England, for example. That's a treasure. That's a treasure. Plus, it's historically important, to be able to really have an insight into people's lives at other times. That's real life. I remember when I was a kid in school, in our history class, we had a really, really cool text. And what it was a compilation of letters letters and newspaper articles from the time of Abraham Lincoln and during the Civil War. And it gave a unique insight into the experiences of the human beings existing in that time, instead of just having some kind of textbook history that was really a commentary on that time. So to go on with what Dido said, and how this is talking about her great-great-grandfather and how he taught himself and everyone else how to read. I'm taking the time to digitize everything to share with the family. And Dido, I'm of a similar sensibility, but I know that you're much more steeped in history, and good for you to be collecting all this work and archiving it or making it available in an archival fashion for people. It's so important, I think. And Robin says, I missed the origin of this conversation. Please keep your family memories. So then the origin of this conversation, Robin, was stuff. And whether we own our stuff or our stuff owns us. And we can look at that metaphorically too. But this is really about material possessions and how much of our identity is tied into the material possessions, and giving them up, or giving them away, or throwing them away, or whatever. When my dad died, my brother and I were charged with, thank you. Yes, Marie Kondo. That's who I was talking about, Ross. Oh, there's a TV show. Marie Kondo wrote the Fine Art of Decluttering, I think it's called, and what she says in that book is to touch everything, hold it, and say, "Does this bring me joy?" or something very similar to that. Maybe you can correct me, but I would also say, "Does this delight me?" So Ross said she worked with a family where the husband collected T-shirts. They took some of the T-shirts and made it into a quilt, downsizing. Yes, exactly. And I've imagined living in a tiny home. For me, in certain respect, it's really appealing, the concept of living in a tiny home. But the thing is, I have so many beautiful things that I've collected over time. And when people come into my home, they say, wow, it's like a museum in here. There's so much to see. And it's beautiful and special stuff. And so not everything is beautiful and special, but lots and lots of it is. And I, as long as I'm living here, I wouldn't want really to get rid of that stuff. That's not to say there's not a lot of extraneous stuff, and there is. Does this spark joy? Thank you, Dido. That's what she says. So does this spark joy? So I have, for instance, and this is a dilemma for me, again, as somebody who is sustainability minded, I still have a collection of VHS tapes, movies and stuff. And so I started looking up, well, how do I get rid of these in a way that is going to be sustainable? And apparently there are organizations for veterans overseas where they actually still watch VHS, where they still use CDs, where, all this technology that has become obsolete. What do we do with it? What do we do with I have, from when I went to art school, I went back to art school when I was 40, and it was a while ago, and I have all these discs that we were storing data on. They were very expensive at the time. The thing is, I don't have a player for it, so I don't have the ability to erase them, and I don't particularly want that data to be in somebody else's hands at the same time that I want to be able to, give these discs to somebody that would use them. So there are dilemmas about these things. I actually have old computers that need to get erased, but they could be used by other organizations potentially where people don't have access to these computers. So part of the dilemma for me, and I know I'm wondering if you are faced with a similar dilemma, is how do I responsibly redistribute this stuff in such a way that other people will benefit from it, and I won't jeopardize my own welfare. Other people will benefit, and it will be responsible environmentally. So there are these dilemmas that I'm facing. I'm wondering how you guys contend with it. I mean, I've done a lot of meditating on it and session work on it and all kinds of other things. And I noticed that I still haven't gone through and just made a sweep. I think it'll take multiple sweeps, but I haven't gone through and really just started. And I'm thinking that probably one of the best ways to do it is to just get some boxes, take an area, sort through, and put the stuff in the boxes that I am looking for new homes for, and then see if I can find a place that would benefit from them, places that would be receiving of these things. So I'm speaking about it probably because I'm coming to the point where I by speaking it into the world, maybe it'll motivate me. There's a new strategy to really get myself in gear and do something about all this stuff. Because truly, on some level, I am feeling a little bit oppressed by it. I'm starting to feel oppressed by it. And I want to have more space to breathe, more space to just be. And so I think it's really interesting because for myself, my house is actually a treasure chest in and of itself. I know that as I start digging through things, I'm gonna unearth things that I had forgotten about. And I guess, if I've forgotten about it or I haven't utilized it for a long time, maybe that in itself is reason enough to relieve myself of those things. I wonder how you go about this stuff for yourself. I know, like, there are other people that I know that throw everything out without concern for where it's going, just throw things in the trash. I don't know. I didn't grow up in a depression, but I kind of am of the waste not, want not perspective, just find utility for things. And it's actually a dilemma. I'm wondering if anybody else is feeling the same kind of dilemma, or feeling perplexed as to how to go about it. I know that part of it is just get started, and feeling maybe that it's such an overwhelming task that it's so big I don't even know where to start. But it just gets a little I just see that I've been stuck in the thinking stage instead of the doing stage, which is challenging, because I want to be able to move into it from inspiration, not as a to-do that I'm powering through in a not conscious way. So I'm really working to get myself in alignment to get into action about it. So Robin says, if it'll help you to feel better, my husband's home, which was his grandparents, then his mom lived here to care for her mom. Then my husband has been here. Now I'm here. There's 4 generations of stuff. Oh my gosh, Robin, I can't even imagine. Clothes from his grandparents still here. I try to resource it to the mission house in our local area. Yes, thank heaven for thrift stores and missions and other organizations that receive things here. One of the organizations is called the Purple Heart, and I give things to them regularly, but not enough, and taking things to Salvation Army and other organizations, religious centers, etc. Yeah, that's a really awesome channel for rehoming our possessions that we're relinquishing, for sure. So anyway, we can check in about this periodically, maybe by outing myself here around this. I will actually get myself into action. But I know that I'm not the only one faced with this kind of challenge. And the truth is that I don't acquire a lot of things, for the sake of acquiring. I don't really shop that much. The things that I purchase mostly are things that are utilitarian, I bought art supplies because I am giving that to myself these days. But otherwise, the things I buy are things that are really special. So it makes it harder to part with them. And maybe I don't need to. I don't know. I see a large storage space in my future at the moment. Anyway, so Dido says, totally feel it. It seems to take more thought to dispose of certain things responsibly, even here in Boulder. Exactly. Exactly. It's a challenge. Um, yeah, I mean, like, I have a bunch of books. What I had a training center for a bunch of years, and I have lots of books that I went through and highlighted very, very thoroughly. And I can't imagine that too many people are going to be interested in having those books, not only because they're highlighted, but also because they're for old software. So what do you do with that? I guess I put them in the recycling bin. I don't know if it's better to give it to a library because the library can then decide where it goes. Maybe there are people that want these things. Some of the books, I guess, belong to be recycled. So, but I don't know if maybe there's a special kind of recycling center to send those things to make sure that they're responsibly processed. So, yeah. So Ross says starting a corner of the room for the things that you want to get rid of. Yeah, because then it's all the stuff that I want to get rid of, and then it's a matter of getting it to the place that I get it to get rid of it, or that will rehome it, so to speak. So, yeah, it's an interesting dilemma. And then there's stuff like batteries. Now fortunately some more supermarkets are recycling batteries and some other things, but there are a lot of things that just don't get properly recycled. So uh thank you for being here, for to be a sounding board and to be holding me to account in regard to this. Now I'm going to have to take some action around it. So Robin says, then I'm caring for my 93-year young mom. Wow. At a different location. There's 40 plus years there to be going through. We had many antiques. I purchased a um, a Connex to store my stuff, which are still there. Thrift books online, check with them. Awesome. Awesome. Well, Robin, you sure have your hands full, and what history you have at your fingertips. The antiques too. I love antiques. So, I have kind of eclectic furniture too that I really like. And that's good quality. And I don't particularly want to get rid of that either. So, anyway, it goes on. And I would like to maybe continue this dialogue uh, over time to see what kind of progress we make and what kind of treasures we find, and share our progress through this decluttering idea, because I think there is more freedom in it. There is more space to breathe. It's just a matter of how best to move through it. And Robin says, yes, ma'am. All right. So anyway, that's it for today. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection. And I'm here every weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page. Please check out the community on Enlightened World Network. Wonderful light workers, heartfelt, and so much wisdom. And until next time, good luck decluttering, and we'll be in touch about it. Lots and lots of love.